We are waiting the second day of questioning of the undercover police officer, Jim Boyling. He used the cover name Jim Sutton to infiltrate animal rights groups, environmental groups, Earth First, most notably Reclaim the Streets. He deceived 3 women into intimate relationships, including one he had 2 children with. We heard a full day of questioning of him yesterday, where, well, I'm joined by Donald Driscoll of the Undercover Research Group. I mean, what did you make of his questioning yesterday?
He's still an undercover cop. He's still presenting, that smooth character. He's clearly thought, how do I make the right impression here? How do I not do a Mark Jenner? He's clearly that lesson. But there's quite a lot of people who know him have said, it's like, you can see the presentation, and that way you're not getting the real. It's getting the real Jim Boyling. Don't know how much Mitting is buying it, but for those of us who have been watching many of the undercovers, so we can see your pattern. We can see how you managed to get away with what your abuses for so long.
Yeah, I think the mask slipped a couple of times.
Yes.
The first time when he was asked about when his wife left him while he was deployed undercover, he was like, "Is this really necessary?" Which, I mean, shock horror. You're being asked about personal matters. Who'd have thought that a man who did the things that you've done would need to answer for those kind of things? And then at the very end, when he was questioned about the beginning of his deceitful relationship with Monica, where he was flapping quite uncontrollably. I mean, particularly when Barr said to him, "What would it have taken to stop you?" He just
he did not want to answer the question.
Not at all.
Nothing. But but then again, this is his tradecraft. He was going to do whatever he felt was needed, and he's now come up against a brick wall. It's like, there's morals here. How do you? He's got no morals. So how can he square this publicly? How can he continue to present? I'm just smooth urbane officer with an amoral git.
He did start yesterday much more candidly than most former undercover officers who've been called for questioning have. When he was asked about what he was told about relationships, what he knew about relationships that undercover officers were having whilst deployed with activists, he said, "Oh, it was known. It was known. I knew about it before I joined Special Branch."
Right. Yeah, no, and that was quite eye-opening. But he's doing the classic thing of, what can I not get away with admitting? And therefore, so when I don't want to admit something, it looks more plausible. Everything he does is strategic, thought out. He's still clearly playing that game. But the side benefit of that, he's not quite a whistleblower.
No, very much not.
But he is being more honest because he knows his bosses are throwing him under the bus. He's not going to take their blame.
He did. So in his written statement, which is now published on the CPI website, worth reading. Within that, he throws Andy Coles under a bus. Andy Coles told him about relationships were inevitable. When questioned on that, he was much more like, he obviously forgotten what he put in his written statement. Perhaps Coles had a word in his ear in the intervening time or something. But he was like, "Oh, I don't really remember." Or if he says it didn't happen, then perhaps it didn't. And he was really kind of like a bit pressured by the stuff that he'd already put out in his own written statement.
Yeah, and you can see him actively having the thoughts of, what have I said? Who am I going to throw under the bus? Who am I going to blame for things? I don't really care about the higher ups, but I care about my mates. I care about whose opinion do I care? But the problem is, when you have that sort of elaborate system of lies, it's very, very hard to maintain. Like, that was day one. We've got 4 days. This will be day 2. By day 4, he's going to be struggling with that. And I think we saw that previously with the likes of Lambert and Coles. It's like, how do you maintain that facade for so long? You either totally believe it and internalize it, or at some point the balls start dropping out in the air.
He did have a brainwave. He was like, "Aha, I know I can blame. Peter Francis is that dirty Peter Francis, the whistleblower. It was him all along. He was having relationships. He talked about it. He told me about the other people having relationships."
But he didn't even realize that. But if Peter Francis was talking about openly, it supports Peter Francis' evidence, thing. But also it points to the culture. It's like, well, yeah, they all knew. And there's just like this sort of thing is like, there's the beautiful moment where they were talking about the photographs. It's like they got photographs from other parts of Special Branch surveillance teams. and they all just pretended they didn't see that Boyling was holding, I think it was Monica's hand. The thing. I was just like, well, we all kind of knew that was going on. We always had the questions like, surely there's these other sources of intelligence out there that would have cooperated these relationships to the managers, and he just let the whole cat out of the bag in that one go because he had another agenda. And it was like with that other Ben Gunn, it's like so determined to make certain points, don't care about the other stuff they let through.
No, he said that when he was in the back office of the SDS, the 6-month period before he was deployed into the field, that he was reading a lot of the documents were in that room, and he said that particularly the files of Mike Chitty and John Dines were very explicit about the fact that these men were having relationships, and they were being dealt with very sympathetically by management in terms of the problems that had caused. Which I mean is something which it's pretty bloody obvious that was the case, but it's not something we've heard other undercover officers admit to quite so freely.
No, and also curious that was just how much they did have knowledge of the premium, because I think he referenced another situation where something was missing, which I think was probably the Stephen Scott thing. So clearly they're all very aware of what can go wrong with this, and the subtext there is they weren't doing anything. They were gossiping about it. The knowledge was being passed on. It was becoming institutionalized in a way. But it's not until after Boyling actually leaves that other managers come in and go, "Whoa, this is bad." While Boyling is there, remember it's on Lambert's watch. He's the key officer in all of this because he got Lambert and above him Edmondson. Edmondson is not given much respect at all.
No, really not.
Lambert is clearly running the show.
Very much. I mean, you can see it just in the little asides when, even when he was talking about the Mike Chitty report, he said, which was written by Bob Lambert, which was fascinating, really well, like he had to fanboy over him.
It's amazing. A lot of them are still in love with Lambert. He is the golden boy. He is the person who somehow managed to make it to be peak undercover. By committing one of by burning down the shop, let's not be beat around the bush on that one. But that's who they're holding up as this amazing thing. He got to the awards.
Well, he covered for their indiscretions, right?
He's told you, and quite a few of the undercovers said, "Oh, when they're in trouble, it wouldn't have happened if Bob Lambert was there." Like James Thompson, all his craziness. So, well, it would be okay if Bob Lambert was overseeing. It was just those other bad managers. It's just like Lambert is one of their own. He's the pater for that familias. It's almost like a mafia. He's the godfather, and they're all the good little soldiers doing exactly what was needed. Yeah,
I mean, yesterday we went through a lot of the stuff with his initial deployments. Initially, Jim Boyling was tasked to infiltrate the animal rights movement as part of Operation Gant. Supposedly about this long-running incendiary device campaign that supposedly was being carried out against Essex hunters. Something about that was very odd. Something that was very, very odd. He blamed the fact that the IRA had restarted their bombing campaign in the UK mainland. For why he was taken off that, why that there was no interest in that anymore, despite the fact that he had a copper's hunch about who the person responsible was, and supposedly he's taken away from this serious arson campaign and retasked or dual tasked to go after street parties because one street party in Islington gets out of control. Doesn't add up.
But so much of that doesn't add up. It's like, so he goes into East London Animal Rights because some of their members formerly did ALF actions, and he gets in there and goes, no, it wouldn't be them. It's like, how are you, an inexperienced undercover, only a few weeks in, able to assert that so quickly and easily? But I identified somebody else. I'll go stabbing.
Well, he claims that the Hunt Sabs don't recruit members of the public, and he needed an introduction from East London Animal Rights in order to get it. I mean, just nonsense.
But that's not what his statement was. He was sent into East London to find the supposed thing. So it's like, no, yeah, as you say, none quite adds up. It's like, it looks plausible on the surface, but as soon as you start scraping it, and say, the idea that Hunt Sabs didn't recruit, it's like you need people. You simply need people to do that work. I'm thinking that as a former Hunt Sab myself. It's just like, hello, whose wool are you trying to pull the wool over the eyes of? Because it's not us. And again, it's like he's got an audience in mind. It's all about that persona. What sounds plausible to the audience, his current audience, is Mitting and Lambert.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly before we carry on, there's 30 people watching. Only 2 of you have liked it. It's so cheesy and cringe asking, but if you please could like the post on whatever platform you see it on, share it. Not just at this moment, but throughout the day, there'll be lots of coverage of today's hearing at the Spike Ops inquiry. Please share that.
Yeah, and it's just as like a lot of today will be focused on the women he deceived into relationships.
Yes.
So something to expect is that there may be stops and starts because there'll be quite intimate personal details discussed, and for obvious reason, people don't want that out in public. The privacy deserves to be respected.
Yeah, absolutely. We are joined by regular contributors to these things, Chris Bryan. Yes, Chris.
How's it going? Sorry, I'm late. I got distracted by doing other work. Apologies.
I would say you're on mute, but I don't think you are on mute. I think you just need to turn your microphone up, but we can't actually hear you at the moment. It is on. It's just really quiet.
Okay.
Perhaps you could turn yourself up. Yeah, I mean, after we'd gone through the Am I Right stuff, we started seeing the reports that Bob Lambert, Jim Boyling, Bob Lambert lives rent free in my mind, that Jim Boyling wrote as part of the infiltration of Reclaim the Streets. And he was very candid about the fact that he took a leading role in shaping, supposedly, according to him, the direction of travel, essentially, of Reclaim the Streets. He said he was in the core group, that he was part of meetings, and he would try and tweak plans to make them more acceptable to the police.
He's an agent provocateur. There's no way around it. He was an organizer, not just a organizer on the side. It's like things wouldn't have happened if he wasn't facilitating them. It's like I don't care about states wording all around this, but whatever way you look at it, he crossed the line into being a full-on activist where he was facilitating, making things happen, and actions happened, as we heard with GRD, because he initiates and runs with them. He was getting off on it.
Yeah, I mean, he really seemed to be. Chris, how's your sound now?
Well, it seems to be
still dreadful. Perhaps you just go to the settings in the StreamYard app, see if you can.
I've done all that, mate. I've done
microphones
all that.
just not the chosen one, right? Chosen one. Yes, I mean his role as an agent provocateur. I mean, it seems pretty bloody obvious. This exposed.
But he doesn't seem to understand.
No, he really doesn't.
It's just like, it was just part of my deployment. And so this also opens the other question. And I think he is being candid in. He's saying as he sort of perceived it, how many of the other undercovers were doing exactly the same.
Well, he seems to see it as like a sign that he was a good undercover. He was a good infiltrator. He was shaping the way, he was dealing with the policing concerns before the public order happened. He was, shaping the way that the public order was going to develop.
Which is a very Lambert thing to do.
Very Lambert, very Lambert. How are you doing, Chris? Another go, maybe?
I don't see what the problem
no,
is.
we're not getting it. So the other, I mean, the one of the things that this exposed was an internal turf war between sections of the police, between the special branch and CO11. It was so much so that we heard from Boyling that there was a fear that if CO11 were aware of an undercover officer in Reclaim the Streets, they would have exposed them.
Yeah,
insane.
It's just to me, that was one of the most interesting, fascinating, maybe because I'm too much of a geek on these things. But CO11 was the public order branch. We heard about them in previous tranches as A8 or A department. So Boeing says they were new. They weren't new. But what was new was that they set up their own public order intelligence unit, which is an interesting name. And the question, but the unasked question, and this was for managers, is why did the main client of his intelligence, public order branch, feel the need to set up their own intelligence unit? Was the intelligence they were getting from special branch any use at all to them? Or were they just going, we can't actually, so paranoid about the security and secrecy of the unit that in fact the sanitizing process in the intelligence made it worthless. By the time it got to them, it's then gone. So you've got to say, we were doing public order, but what we're not seeing, and the police said it in their position statement at the start of this phase, we need to hear the evidence from those officers, the ones who are actually, and I think Boyling really opened the door to what actually was being passed on to CO11, why they had this rival unit. Also, it's CO11 who'd been providing some of those photographs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's CO11 who are also responsible for the forward intelligence teams, which anybody who was involved in activism during the late 90s, early 2000s will remember very well, who did, I mean, essentially kind of stalking behavior, really, of activists during, in and around protests. And we saw some reports from Boyling.
And also did do their own profiles. It's in one of my exhibits, my witness statement, is a CO11 profile on RTS. They were doing their own, repeating their own work, only without having to send somebody in to actually speak to people.
I mean, they'll be. I remember, being at like events like DICE, the Defence Systems Exhibition International, the Arms Fair in East London. Officers taking off their hats to look inside their hats because they had printouts of photographs of
spotter cards.
Which intelligence was. When this whole Spike Ops thing blew up, I kind of assumed that information must have come from there. It appears probably not. They actually had to do it themselves because the turf war that existed between the units.
Yeah, no, I know at least one of my photographs that I got back, it was from a forward intelligence team because I know where it was taken. So that's not special branch, that's thing. So yeah, we're now in a period where we've got two parallel intelligence gathering operations going on. So the justification for the likes of Lambert, for the likes of Boyling, is even smaller.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was such key exchange. I think we will see the ramifications of that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did see a report by Boyling where he basically slags off the forward intelligence teams for arresting Jay Jordan, Roger Geffen, and one other, with all the copies of the evading standards, going, this is an unlawful arrest. They're going to get a payout, and then they do get a payout, as I predicted. CO11, bunch of like morons, knuckleheads, kind of. And
he's got the special branch mentality of SDS are the elite of special branch, but special branch are the elite of the Metropolitan Police. And it's not just Boyling. You see this through loads and loads of the other undercovers and things like, but we're special branch. We didn't need training because we knew.
Yeah. Chris, how are you getting on there? Have you? I mean, are you able to
hear me? Can you hear me any better now?
We can hear you slightly better, actually.
Yeah.
Slightly better.
That's without the mic. That's without the mic, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, technical problems abound. But yeah, Chris, go for it.
I mean, one thing I was going to say about that is that although there was a specific thing with CO11, that also speaks to the fact that the way the SDS operated was they weren't really responsive to their customers' needs, or they operated as a self-perpetuating unit. It was basically just a bonus if anybody actually used their intelligence, and that goes right back, doesn't it? I mean, right back. Most of the intelligence has already been deemed not relevant to public order in the Tranche 1 report. Obviously, MI5 during the Cold War era was a secondary customer in theory, but often was a primary one. But then obviously this deployment actually Boyling starting in 95, that means that's just like 1 year after MI5 decided they weren't all that interested in subversion and subversives anymore. So this is like the first full deployment after that era. So really their only customers are, internal police customers, aren't they, at this point?
Yeah, and they don't get on with them.
Yeah,
I mean, it's such a weird situation, and one which, like, as someone who was like, policed by both these units, I wouldn't have known at the time at all. I mean, it just seems quite insane. I think we're likely to see here some more internal sort of turf wars between sections of the police when we get to June the 18th, Carnival Against Capitalism, which might be today. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the understanding is we'll be hearing more from the relationships today. Okay. That's the big topic. So, we have had quite a lot on June the 18th, but. Yeah, but there is actually a lot. There's the whole Irish decontamination stuff. So it's unclear what directions Bob will take it. As we see, Bob moves around the picture quite a lot before coming back.
Yeah. We're joined by Kate Wilson. Do you want to bring yourself around? So we've just been chatting about what we're expecting from today. We've kind of gone through what happened yesterday. Is there anything you'd like to highlight about?
Well, I mean, I just heard what Donald said about the Irish GM contamination. I think it's worth saying a bit more I'm off screen, saying a bit more about that, because the inquiry has actually said they're not interested in the Irish GM contamination because it took place abroad, and they have this ridiculous thing with their terms of reference where their investigations stop at the English and Welsh borders.
So Scotland would be considered abroad.
Yes, quite. But yeah, I think the Irish thing is really important. We heard from GRD on Wednesday that it basically wouldn't have happened without Boyling. Boyling was really pushing for it. And it was the first GM crop decontamination that took place in Ireland, and actually kind of kicked off the Irish campaign, which led to changes in the Irish government's policy on GM crops. I mean, they're changes that I think are positive, but the fact that they were basically kicked off by a British police officer working undercover, going into Ireland and committing crimes, is kind of quite a big deal. So yeah, I mean, there's a few things. There's a lot of stuff around the way that they
also just, as an Irish person, the sense of fuck off, you colonizing bastards.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to come up again and again. I mean, we heard a bit around Mark Jenner being in Ireland. I was involved in Jason Kirkpatrick tried to get an inquiry into the activities of the National Public Order Intelligence Unit in Ireland. There seems to have been, and we had in that, there was a judicial review that failed eventually because of lack of funding, but we had the support of the Police Service of Northern Ireland, because they were like, what the fuck were the British police doing? And we didn't know. Why did we not know that they were in Belfast?
To have a British undercover police officer wandering around Belfast and the walls of Derry, having scraps, and the police service in Northern Ireland not knowing, is like, even as a Catholic, I'm like, that's jaw-droppingly stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible.
I've just noticed we are getting incredibly close to the start of the hearing, and we should probably go in and for it. Thanks for joining us. Cheers for joining, Chris. Sorry about the technical problems. Hopefully, we'll be doing more of these throughout the day. We'll do one during the first break. Please share any of these things as they arrive. It makes a huge difference to how visible all this stuff is. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.